Ben Shapiro, holy shit, has lost at least 20,000 subscribers on YouTube over the past 2 weeks.
I think that Kevin really screwed things up last week when he decided to inject himself into this controversy with his vociferous defense that contained some rather charged language. I think he's doing the right thing by pointing out the obvious, which is that if somebody glosses Nazis on the air, that person probably should not.
Is he still fighting to make people not bring Nick Fuentes on TV? How long is this going to go on? Does he know that this is like, it's just going to get worse? Like, this is, you're not going to win this argument. They're going to bring him on anyway. And here's the reason why, Ben. It's because Nick brings in views. He brings in views from people that love him, and he brings in views from people that hate him. That's why he gets invited. You can get mad and cry and bitch about it all you want, but at the end of the day, these places don't care about America. They don't care about Israel either. And guess what? They're going to upload whatever they think is going to make them the most money. And if that means interviewing what you think a Nazi or a white supremacist is, they're going to do it. That's just it.
Not be associated with a conservative think tank, and that everyone should have a duty to say that that is a bad thing to do. So I'm grateful to Kevin for doing that. I think it's a very good thing that he did that. The real issue here is I think that Tucker Carlson's morphing from, I would say, a very edgy right-wing political figure on Fox News, but certainly within the mainstream, into a conspiracist, a person who ideologically launders anti-Semitism, who ideologically launders all sorts of anti-Americanism on his show, and then airs it for the public to hear with interviews like the ones he did with Nick Fuentes, which was essentially a massage of Nick Fuentes. You know, I think that took a lot of people by surprise, probably including Kevin.
Most people were really positive about it. If you look at the video, it had a tremendous positive reaction. And I mean, like the likes and dislikes, I mean, it is what it is. A lot of people were really happy about it. Now, obviously, maybe his friends and he wasn't happy about it. That's fine. But ultimately, yeah. I mean, I'm not positive about it. Obviously, not everybody is, but I'm saying, like, if you're making a collective analysis, aren't you?
Washington Free Beacon obtained and posted video of yesterday's Heritage Foundation staff meeting where Roberts apologized for how he's handled Tucker's conversation with Nick Fuentes.
What is this?
Here's part of what Roberts had to say.
What do you say? Is this the bald guy?
I didn't
Yeah.
know much about this Fuentes guy. I still don't, which underscores the mistake. I can tell you with a clear conscience and not making any excuses that those were my intentions, to fix all of that. And obviously I didn't. I made them worse.
We reached out to the Heritage Foundation for comment about the video. We were referred to Kevin Roberts' social media post from yesterday. What's your reaction? And let me just note that Nick Fuentes has been fairly notorious for years now, including when he dined with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's true, but I think that really in order to experience the full wonders of the Nick Fuentes catalog, you really do have to spend some time going through the receipts. I did that earlier this week on my show. And the truth is that most people don't watch politics all that granularly. Even people who are in politics don't spend a lot of time on sort of the fringe edgelord right, the way that Fuentes is. And so the sort of mainstreaming, the popularization and normalization of Fuentes by Carlson is significantly more important than just Fuentes' existence, obviously.
He just wants to be a gatekeeper. It's never going to work. It didn't work with left-wing people trying to keep people like Zoran out. It's not going to work with Fuentes either. It's just, you can't gatekeep people out. You have to beat them in the marketplace of ideas. And if you don't do that, you're going to fail. That's literally it. There's no other way besides that you can overcome an idea. That's it. You can't just tell everybody you're not allowed to, he can't sit at your table. I mean, it's so simple. Yeah, it's just not going to work. Do you like Nick's views or no? Some I agree with, some I don't. I mean, it's the same with anything. I mean, like, I think he's funny. For sure, he's definitely funny. But, like, it's not like I agree with everything he says, but I agree with a lot of it. Not really, maybe a lot of it. I'd say, like, maybe some of it. Depends. I'd have to really think about it.
It was a seminal.
Like, I'm not really a big racist, you know. I don't really dislike races of people, and I'm not really anti-Jewish, but I agree with a lot of what his opinions are on Israel as a collective, but not really in terms of Jewish people as a collective, if that makes sense.
Moment, I think, when it comes to the right's decision as to whether Tucker himself is a source of truth or whether he is a destructive force inside conservatism.
So one of the things you've noted is that...
Well, I think that it's the framing, right? It's that he's the one that's the destructive force. Well, what happens whenever the majority is the opposite of you and you're the destructive force, right? And I think this is the real question that people like Ben Shapiro need to ask themselves, is that whenever you're telling people and trying to, you know, like orange guy bad. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Like, it's like, oh, you can't platform Trump. You can't talk about Trump. Like, you can't bring him on. Like, he's so bad. That will just never work, man. So basically, Hassan views on Israel. I think Hassan is a bit more extreme about Israel than I am. I think that, like, he probably agrees. Like, I agree with Hassan about, like, I'd say 70 to 80% about what he says about Israel. But I don't like how I think that Hassan, at least it seems to me, actively denies, I think, a lot of the victimhood that Israelis have experienced again, like by Hamas or by other types of terrorist attacks or bombings. And so I think that you can recognize that, you know, Israelis have experienced trauma as well in this war, while also acknowledging that the country that they're a part of is the, you know, maybe antagonist to that. So, like, I think that's probably the main difference that he and I have. But I think that's mainly, that's like kind of a vibe thing. I don't really care a lot about that. He astroturfs for Hamas. I think that he's not critical enough of them. I do. But overall, I mean, I think it's kind of a dead issue at this point, right? Because it seems like that's kind of winding down, at least hopefully.
It isn't so much, your problem isn't so much that Tucker Carlson had Fuentes on his show, but that he didn't push back at all on the neo-Nazi, anti-Semitic, pro-Joseph Stalin rhetoric, et cetera. I just wonder, last week at a Turning Point event, Vice President J.D. Vance was asked...
I think this is, as I said before, I talked about this interview that Tucker Carlson did too. I think that actually Ben Shapiro has very, like, I think valid criticism towards Tucker Carlson, that when Tucker Carlson interviews people that are extremely controversial, that he doesn't press them on their controversial beliefs enough. And I think that it does a disservice to his viewers, and it would be better for the viewers if they were able to actually, you know, hear the answers to some of the questions, like, you know, why are you, would you say that you're anti-Semitic? Like, you know, that kind of stuff. And I think that, like, Nazi Joseph Stalin. Well, wait, did I say neo-Nazi pro Joseph Stalin? I don't think that's what he said. Did Ben Shapiro interview Netanyahu with tough questions? I think that's a great counterpoint. That's a great, that is an incredible counterpoint. I never thought of that. But I think that you can use that actually to make Ben's point. Is that if he did, okay, well, maybe he did. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch it. So I assume that he didn't, but maybe, yeah. Either way, you know, if he didn't ask him tough questions, then it would assume that, you know, he's projecting onto Tucker Carlson. Well, if you're not asking him tough questions, maybe you agree with him like I do. So, yeah.
By a student about an anti-Semitic falsehood, this crazy notion that Judaism openly supports the persecution of Christians. It's not true. But J.D. Vance was asked about it. Instead of pushing back or correcting the questioner, he said this.
Well, the problem is, like, I mean, I've heard things like this is like, I've never read the Torah or the Talmud, but I've heard that basically Jewish people consider non-Jewish people as a separate class. Like, that's the whole Goyim thing. And I think that really, I don't know how, and like, and a lot of religions have a variation of this, right? It's not true. Well, I'm just saying, like, this is a commonly held belief that people have. It's Muslims too. Yeah, I know that. It's a commonly held belief. So I think that really addressing that is important to just say.
There are some significant theological disagreements between Christians and Jews. My attitude is, let's have those conversations. Let's have those disagreements when we have them. But if there are shared areas of interest, we ought to be willing to do that too.
And let me guess, that's a problem? That's a perfect answer. That's what I want to hear. I agree with him.
What did you think of that?
You know, obviously in a vacuum, I think that answer is fine. I think it's a response to the question, which was asked, as you say, in a tremendously anti-Semitic way, the idea that Jews are persecutors of Christians is an absurd contention. Obviously, I would have preferred more from the vice president, but I think the broader problem here is, again, that you have an enormous number of young...
I don't know enough about the actual religion to, I don't know.
Young people who are engaging with true white supremacist, anti-Jew content and are taken in by it, and there do need to be more voices pushing back on that.
Ben Shapiro, we thank you for your voice. Thank you so much.
Has lost at least 20,000 subscribers on YouTube over the past 2 weeks. I read that in his voice. It was, Jesus, that was so weird. Okay, anyway, yeah, so let me go back. I'll take a look at it. Okay, so we have Ben Shapiro. Where's his YouTube channel? So where's a recent video that he did pretty well? Bad news for Republicans. Okay, let's see. Is this... where is it here? I don't know really if that's it. I have no idea. So what are the comments? Okay, so the comments... These are the comments on Ben Shapiro's, one of his recent popular videos, okay? America first is inevitable. I will never vote for a U.S. politician that has accepted $1 single from AIPAC. It's hard to support conservatives that can serve nothing. Epstein who is also a small factor, a loss of trust. Maybe Republicans once need to get a chance to stop putting Israel and AIPAC first. The entire Israel issue mess is the real issue. That's why everyone is confused. You, Ben, are not helping. New York has already been Democrat city. Republicans lost because they didn't fix the economy. Well, that's generally true, I would say. We pray that in 2028 shift that merges MAGA with actually good economics. Yeah, imagine that. And again, Trump is wasting his mandate faster than Bush in 2005. Probably also true. I would agree with that. And yeah, I'm Jewish and Republican. I'm tired of us sending money to Israel and Ukraine. My passport is red, white, and blue. If you want to donate to these countries privately, go ahead. We need to fix our stuff first, prior to seeing Americans struggling. So let me open up Social Blade. So is Ben Shapiro actually losing popularity by a lot? Oh. Oh, shit. So basically, he was cooking whenever Trump was doing pretty well. Trump was doing well, Trump wasn't in office. But as soon as Trump went in office, he went from 70,000 subs to 0, 20,000, 0, 10,000, 0, negative 10,000, 0, negative 20,000, negative 10,000, randomly gained 40,000. How did you get 40,000 subscribers? You've got to have a sub for this? How did this happen? This seems like an anomaly. Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand this. So he's only getting, let's see here, you've got like maybe 400,000, or sorry, 40 million views. Wow. So people are actually rejecting this message.